TCI is brought to you by Spendthrift Stallion Into Mischief, an emerging top sire and half-brother to two-time champion Beholder.
Welcome back to TCI, your inside track to the Breeders' Cup. Alongside Joel Cunningham, I'm John Siegel. Well, Joel, we're back. We're ready to talk Breeders' Cup. Man, it's in our own backyard this year. We're only about 5 weeks away. This is the first major weekend of final Breeders' Cup preps. We want to jump right in here, man, and start talking about the turf division at Belmont. You know, we got a grade 1 there in the Joe Hirsch. We got some pretty good horses in here, but one thing that's interesting, there is not any horses running in here who ran in last year's Breeders' Cup.
That's true, and there's only a couple grade 1 winners. We're talking about North American turf horses here. So, you know, right at the top of the division for me are two you're going to see in here. That's Big Blue Kitten and Red Rifle, John. Both in-form horses. Had very good summers, particularly Red Rifle in the last month. He's really come on the scene. Mile and a half, you know, both tailor-made for these colts. The interesting thing is here, one of them's going to earn a berth into the Breeders' Cup turf. But how are they going to fare against the Europeans? I mean, we saw Red Rifle on top of his game at Saratoga. And look, we saw a very good French-bred horse come in, a horse that was runner-up last year in the Breeders' Cup turf, Flintshire, just really blowed the doors off of him in the stretch, even though I did think Red Rifle ran well and was tactically a little out of place in that race. However, still stepping up now. I mean, you could see Golden Horn, the leading 3-year-old in the country, or in the world rather, possibly come for this race. I mean, we know the Europeans are going to bring a lot of their best. So will the Americans be able to step up? We'll learn this weekend at least who the best American is.
All right, well, we're talking about some of the best. We got to jump now to the sprint division. Let's talk about the Vosburg. You know, we see a horse in here who could be your favorite in the sprint division. Of course, I'm talking about Rockfall.
Yeah.
Joel, this horse has come on. He's having a tremendous year. Tell me what you think. There's some salty horses in here, which there always is in that sprint division that could be dangerous, including a horse called Palace, who's going to be returning in here. Tell me what do you think?
Well, Palace likes, you know, he's coming in fresh, and he certainly likes Belmont, John, but he's a little out of form this year. I actually think Wildcat Red's a horse that's very interesting to me. But in terms of pure lick and 108 speed, Rockfall is that horse this year. I mean, he's the best sprinter in the country. We've seen it all year. I can even recall earlier this year an allowance race at Keeneland where he ran awesome, blew the doors off of Delani that day. And he's just had a great year. He's 6 for 6, John. You can't knock him. They passed the forego last time out to freshen him up for 2 races to finish his year. Obviously, this weekend where he's going to run in the Vosburg, where I expect him, especially with his outside post position, to be very dangerous in there. Horse that loves Belmont. And then you're going to see him in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and he's precisely the horse to beat in that race this year.
All right, let's jump now to Santa Anita, and let's talk about the Awesome again. You know, there's some colts in here that got beat by a pretty good filly last time out. But when I look at this race, I think it's interesting because I don't see American Pharoah in here. You know, this was a race that people were thinking he was going to point towards. I think they're going to opt to train up to the Classic. Tell me, what do you think about that decision?
I was a little surprised he didn't come back in here. I mean, it is not a good field. I mean, Bob Baffert's got the 2 horses to beat in here. You know, Opportunity and Bayern, horse that, you know, both horses have seen their best days of racing. I mean, they're just not in good form right now. You mentioned Beholder just blowing the doors off of both these colts in that race. So it was a little bit of a surprise to me that, you know, to get a final prep in 5 weeks out, to be able to lead American Pharoah straight out of a stall, you know, up to a race that turned up this easy. I would have liked to seen a prep in here from American Pharoah, to be honest with you. I think in a 1 1/8 he would have crushed this field, and it would have been a useful prep for him as opposed to training up to a 1 1/4 race. Now let's remember, his 2 races at a 1 1/4 to date, he got beaten in Travers last time out in Keen Ice, and Frost had him hooked, you know, obviously inside the quarter pole there. And then his Derby, of all of his wins, his Derby was the most contested to the wire. So makes you wonder a little bit if his brilliance is a little bit, you know, not quite the same beyond a 1 1/8. So I think American Pharoah, boy, the fact that he's training up to the Classic, I think it's going to be a tough task for him. Interested to see how he trains going into Keeneland.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I know you said you'd like to see him in here, you know, but there's going to be a lot of people who said, look, give the horse a break. He's done enough. He won the Triple Crown. He comes back, you know, he runs great in the Haskell.
Sure.
The Travers is always tough. They say that, you know, that's the graveyard of champions in there. I thought he ran a big race. You could tell they were going after him with Frosted. So I don't know, maybe the freshening, you know, Bob knows what he's doing to try to come over. He shipped for the Classic. It'll be interesting
look, there's
to see
no
what
question.
happens.
Look, I'm not questioning Bob at all. He's going to have him sitting on his A game. My question is, you know, you face older horses now for the first time, really with no, having to come in off the layoff to face older horses at 1.25 miles, and there's going to be a pace in this race. I mean, look, what if Liam's Map runs, Coach Inge? I mean, there's some fast horses, particularly on the East Coast, John, that are going to be a pace presence in that classic division, and I just think that, anytime, we haven't seen American Pharoah react in a race with a fast pace or a contentious pace yet. How is that going to work out for him going 10 furlongs? Having to come in off 2 months off the shelf. So a very interesting tactic I just felt for American Pharoah.
All right, well, let's go now then and talk about the Beldame. This is, where we're going to see the distaff division. Joel, it's interesting here because we're talking about Beholder. We say how good she is. She defeated Colts last time out.
Yeah.
In this division, she may not even run in here. Tell me, what do you think? What's your top 5 in the distaff?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and release our first top 5 of the Breeders' Cup, John. And you'll see in the distaff division, which is going to be the Friday feature of the Breeders' Cup, you have 2 major preps this weekend. And you're right. There's no sense in putting Beholder on the list. Obviously, she beat number 1. And maybe if she doesn't run as well in the Zenyatta, perhaps they alter course, don't go in the Classic and run the distaff instead. But right now, they're pointing for the Classic. So for all intents and purposes, she doesn't belong on this list. And to me, when I look at who's in form right now with the filly mares across the country, I like Sheer Drama right now and her tactical ability. I do think there could be a lot of speed signed on in here. And with no Beholder in this division looking vulnerable, I mean, if you've got a nice filly mare that's in form right now, you want to run in this race for this big purse money. So I think you're going to get a pretty big field in here is my guess. So I think there'll be enough pace. Sheer Drama has the ability to come from off of it. Loved her win last time out where she beat Untappable. She beat Stop Shopping Marie and some good fillies in there. Wedding Toast. To me, if this Breeders' Cup were at Belmont, Wedding Toast would definitely be the horse to beat. She's another filly that's tactical, but certainly very fast. I don't think a mile and an ace a problem. You're going to see Wedding Toast this weekend in the Beldame. I think she's going to be very tough to beat at that track. They got a freshening out of her. She won on Belmont Stakes. They didn't elect to take her to Saratoga. They kept her at the track that they knew that she liked. I expect her to run well here, go in and probably be your favorite if she were to win this race. Probably be your favorite, running back in the distaff. And then, you look at some other horses, Untappable.
Yeah.
You don't see Untappable in here. She's your defending champion. She has not been as good this year. Going back to Keeneland now, will she wake up? I mean, you see a lot of fillies and mares this time of year, John. They'll can a life. And, can Untappable wake up in here? The Beldame this weekend isn't a win and you're in, but I think you're going to see Untappable, Sheer Drama. A lot of these fillies, you're going to see them turn up in the Spinster, which is a win in your in. It's a local prep at Keeneland. I want to see how she can fare in there against maybe Sheer Drama and some others. Got Lucky, a little tiny filly for Todd Pletcher. Well-bred, but she's come on. I mean, if you're looking for that filly that can come from off the pace in a race that has some speed, here's a filly that's come on this summer. She's still not grade 1 accomplished. But I'm telling you, I'm looking for something in a weak division that's rounded in form, and I think she's that. And then I'm a chatterbox. Let's throw the best 3-year-old filly in there. Certainly got her grade 1 win in the Cotillion last time out. She is the best 3-year-old filly, so I'll throw her into the mix.
Yeah, a little surprised she's that far down there. She ran a huge race, and that was a pretty tough field that she won against last weekend.
Got to face older mares, though. That's the key.
Yeah, that's true. Well, speaking of older mares, let's go ahead and talk about the best one. She may be the best horse right now in the country, and that's Beholder. She's running this weekend as well. Joel, she's running against fillies again. I mean, what do you see anything in there that may test her?
I mean, if Warren's Veneta returned to her spring form and somehow got a monster tactical advantage over on a track that maybe had some bias, perhaps she'd be tough to run down, but it's just so hard to see right now. I mean, they talk about how good Beholder's doing right now. So the concern of the bounce, which would be there for me coming out of the Pacific Classic, was so huge. They're saying she's doing tremendous right now. I love where she drew out here outside. I mean, Gary Stevens will pick his trip in here. Going back against fillies, it's hard for me to see her lose here, particularly in a track like Santa Anita we know she loves.
That's a great time of year for horse racing.
Oh,
you got so many good races.
Keeneland next weekend.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you guys for watching. It's good to be back. We'll see you next week. We'll talk about these horses and then also give you a new top 5.